Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Cougar, the Bitch, and the Wardrobe. I'm your host, Lana Mazer, also known as Curated by the Cougar. And today we will be discussing a topic that we are calling leaning into knowing our bodies and advocating for ourselves. And I'd like to introduce Sarah Jensen. She is a friend and my trainer, if I may say that, strength trainer. And I've been going to the gym that Sarah works at for almost 2 years now, which is crazy. And we've gotten to know each other. And for those of you who saw it, we did a panel event at Soho House back in September. And we also put it on the podcast. So we're here to have a conversation and chat. And please remember that if you have any comments or commentary or want to participate in any way in the conversation, please feel free to message me on Instagram, on TikTok at Curated by the Cougar, and on Spotify, you can leave comments that I will respond to, which is the Cougar, the Bitch, and the Wardrobe. So let's get started. So I want to get some information for our listeners today. For those that didn't see the panel event at Soho House, if you could tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you into the field that you're in.
So I'm a personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach. I work with everybody, men and women, but I specialize in women's fitness, women's health. So that really means any age. I work with teenagers. I work with prenatal, postpartum, for all the way to perimenopause, postmenopause, and all the things in between. So I just specialize in knowing the needs of women as we go through different life stages. And I'm a big advocate for women, empowering women and teaching them more about themselves, because that's the one thing I've learned is we don't know enough about what's happening inside our own bodies, especially as we age. So I'm glad to be here and have an opportunity to talk more about it.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. And it is something that I really think is important, as I've discussed on other episodes, about feeling empowered as a woman, regardless of age. But I think more so as we do age, because there's a lot of information out there, a lot of misinformation, and we need to know who to go to advocate for ourselves and to know who the experts are. So coming back to our conversation, so I know, so you said you work with women of all ages. How did you start into this industry?
It was just, I needed to make a change. I have a whole history, career, long time ago. I worked in fashion. I became a mom. That became the priority. Long hours and the commute was not working for our family. So I chose to stay home. And then I wanted more. I knew I always wanted to go back to work, and it was figuring out how to do that and what that would be. Fitness is something I knew, I was familiar with, and I know working with people was something I wanted to do. So I just took a leap of faith, got my certifications, and just kind of went for it. And here I am.
I think that's great and inspiring, because I do think as women, because we go through so many different life stages, phases, we are sort of forced to not only roll with it, but how are we going to reinvent ourselves so that way we can feel fulfilled and follow our passions and stay interested and all of the above. And I went through some of that myself over the years too, with trying to figure out what I could do that I would feel good about and that I would also be available to my kids as well. And so here we are with the podcast. So it's all coming full circle. So let's get into a little bit about understanding our bodies and what it means to have self-awareness and body literacy.
Yep. Okay. So The female body is a super complex body. There's a lot going on inside, hormone wise, that we just don't know. We learn the basics, in fifth grade, sixth grade health class, but we don't learn enough. Um, and what I've learned from my own personal experiences and working with so many women is we don't know until we're going through it, and then we're trying to figure out what's happening.
Mm.
And so you think about, we hit puberty, our hormones change, we start to get a menstrual cycle, and we live with that for so long. And then we're trying to get pregnant, or maybe we're not trying to get pregnant, but then it's like even learning how to get pregnant. Then it's, what do we need to do for our bodies to support pregnancy, to support postpartum? Um, not even educated enough about that. They used to say don't exercise, which is the wrong thing to do. We should. And then perimenopause is the big question, right?
Yes.
That's the big thing. That's the new one. That's where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's top of mind for us. And that's what I work with so many women and I hear so much about is perimenopause, and knowing what's coming, why is it coming, and what are the things we can do to get through it as gracefully as possible and to like thrive through those years.
Yes.
But also I've just learned that there are so many things happening that we lump into, well, it's just my period, or maybe it's perimenopause.
Right.
And it may not be any of those things.
Right.
So that's where there's a lot going on and a lot of things it could be. And we need to pay attention to what's happening because it is detrimental at this age, and what could happen.
Yes, absolutely. It's so interesting because I remember like reading this statement and saying it said something along the lines of like that not every woman is going to have a baby, but every woman will go through menopause.
Yep.
And it's really like fascinating and frightening at the same time that at this stage in the game where we are in evolution and everything else, that there isn't enough information or enough resources or like even just like this guide that exists that we can refer to that gives us the information that we require based on depending on what phase of life that we're in. And I remember like thinking about this, when you were saying about like if a woman wants to have a baby, it's like when we're younger, we think that like we just have to like look at a man and we're going to get pregnant. And maybe we're taught that, so we stay away. But then we realize that like fertility is a thing, and we have to understand our cycles and ovulation and how many days, and then when it's peak ovulation and all this stuff. And so even there being that, there is information available to us, but I don't think every woman knows this going into wanting to have a child. And then even beyond that, there's even what comes after having a baby, and that there's a time of recovery, serious recovery, whether you have a C-section or a vaginal delivery. There is a period of recovery, and that there is, for some women, postpartum depression, which is a very real thing. And then I remember with my boys, I was able to nurse them, and I did for each until they each turned one, which was like freaking full-time job. But I remember even then thinking like, in the process or the progress of evolution, how is it that it's still like it can be easy for some women or super challenging, and that none of this is really talked about?
I think that's the thing is
Yes.
that our mothers, our grandmothers didn't talk. I don't
Yes.
know what they were like for you,
Yes.
but I come from very strong women.
Yes.
Who just did it. Like they suffered, they went through all of it, and they just did it. They didn't complain.
Yes.
And I'm talking about women that had full-time jobs.
Yes.
4 kids. They did all the cooking and the cleaning.
Right.
They did everything, all the appointments.
Yes.
And then went through all the same things we're going to go through, or we have been through, but just had to suffer through it.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of a missing piece is they didn't talk to us about it.
Yes.
right? So now we're going through it and there's more out there, more information.
Totally.
But I think more people are talking about it. Just like me, I'm an open book. I share all the things I go through because I really have learned, even through motherhood, when we share our stories, whether they're good or bad, sleep stories. When I know somebody else is having a hard time getting their kids to sleep, it's so much easier for me to feel okay.
Yes.
Like, oh, I can't get my kid to sleep. I'm not alone.
You're not alone.
So sharing stories makes us all relatable and understand that, like, it's not easier for everybody else.
Absolutely.
We're all going through it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it also just spreads awareness in different topics.
Yes. And I think, and like to your point, it's about not feeling alone in those moments, because you can feel like, especially, I mean, I remember those days of having a newborn, and it's very isolating. And I remember I had to keep on reminding myself, even before giving birth, and especially the first time when obviously I had no experience with childbirth, and I had to tell myself, okay, I'm not the first person to go through this.
Yeah.
And I really had to speak to myself in that way. Like, I'm not the first person to go through this. There has to be something to it. But there wasn't enough conversation surrounding it. And differently than you, I did have more open dialogue with my mother. And maybe it was like part of the, I mean, my mother was French, and a lot of it was more like easy flowing conversation about those things. But quite honestly, I think maybe, unfortunately, my mother's no longer here. And if she were today, I would want to have a conversation with her and say, when did you go through menopause, and what was it like for you? Because I can't remember. The only thing that I can remember is that all of a sudden in our living room, there was like a bookshelf that like had all her menopause books on it.
I remember
But I don't
driving down the road in the dead of winter. My mom would put the window down.
Yeah.
She was having a hot
A
flash.
hot flash.
And so
Yeah.
we would all be in there freezing.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I remember, those things. And I don't think I was there for a lot of it.
Yes. No, I don't. Yeah. I had to have been out of the
My
house.
dad will tell you
Yeah.
stories.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she definitely went through it
Yes.
earlier than a lot of women do.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too, where there needs to be conversation, because I think that there's a lot of discomfort and shame, embarrassment, where women who do go through perimenopause and menopause on the earlier side, and they're left to feel like there's something wrong with them, which is really so unfortunate. And then a lot of that anger and shame around why their bodies aren't working in a way that they expected their bodies to do so, and having conversations similarly around infertility with friends of mine that had those challenges. And so again, so I think a lot of it is like to be able to have a safe space to talk about these things, and if you have questions, to be able to seek out the right people. So now you're talking about this, and your perspective on body knowledge and women's health and fitness. Are there any anecdotes or experiences that you've had that you can share with some listeners? You know, obviously not naming any names, but just like things that you have found to be helpful with clients, people that you're training, depending on where they are in their fitness, you know, program or their journey, and what have you found to be the most significant?
I think the most important thing is, so many women come in and they're very hesitant. They're very scared of the weight room and the idea of strength training. So the most important thing is making them feel comfortable and then helping them to enjoy the process.
Yes.
Also, setting realistic standards, right? You're not going to come in and lose weight in 1 month. You're not going to come in and lose weight in 6 months doing barely working, right? You have to work hard. You have to increase the intensity at the right time, right?
Yes.
You have to do everything safely, progress the way that you need to at your own personal rate. But you do have to put the work in. You have to be consistent, and you have to get to a place where you can bring the intensity up, meaning heavier weights, working harder at a faster pace, and doing that consistently day in, day out,
Mm.
right? And then supporting it with nutrition, which is the number one thing that I think most people miss, right? They miss
Yes.
the mark on, even when they think they're doing it right, they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So
Where do you think they're missing it? Like is it specific to one, like to protein
well,
or?
protein's a big one.
Yes.
I think most women at this point know they need more protein,
Yes.
but they struggle to get it, and they don't know there's some forms of protein that are better than others.
Sure.
Meaning animal protein is going to be the most effective.
Yes.
Fiber, nobody's eating enough fiber. That's another place
Yes.
we miss the mark. That would be super beneficial to all of us.
Yes.
And then some women just don't even eat enough.
Right.
Right? They're not eating enough. They're not fueling for their workouts. They're not recovering because they're not eating enough protein or carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Some women are on these diets and they'll say, I'm not eating carbs. And then, oh, are you doing keto? No, I'm not doing keto. Okay, so if you're not eating carbs, how are you getting your energy?
Right.
Because the whole point of keto, you're replacing carbs with fat. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you get your energy source. So there's still this doing things because you read about it or you saw it or you think it's what you need to do, but really not having the knowledge behind it to support doing things the right way.
Yes.
So I think there's always more conversation around the effort you put in when you're working out and what you're doing outside of the gym.
Yes.
All those things matter.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of work. I think that's what most people don't understand. We grew up in a generation where it was like, starve yourself.
I was going to say that was the 80s, that was the 90s.
Spend hours on the elliptical and then starve yourself and be a skinny. That never worked. I mean, I am fitter now than I ever was. Mm-hmm. I love my body more now than I ever did doing any of that.
Yes.
And I also weigh more than I did then.
Mm-hmm.
Because muscle weighs more.
Yes.
But I think women come in with these expectations that they're just going to start doing things and it's going to happen.
Yes.
But then when you're at this point in life where you have kids and your metabolism is slowing down and your metabolism's kind of wrecked from the things you've done over the past.
Absolutely.
It's going to take time.
Yes.
And it's going to take a commitment and you just have to stick it out.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because in my former life and former career, and I have a master's in nutrition and exercise physiology. And when I was in that world and working with clients, I remember having to explain to them in terms of metabolism that it's like a car. Like if you have a car and you don't fuel it properly, it's not going to go anyplace. And so similarly, if you're not eating enough and you're slowing down your metabolism, because as human beings, and we're bringing it back to this is like prehistoric times, but we're at the core of it. That's where we came from, that our bodies they're going to go into starvation mode, and we're going to hold on to every calorie until our metabolism gets revved up again. Because if our body thinks that it's starving, it's going to do everything to hold on to what is there and what we're putting into it. And so at the bare minimum, if you are on this crazy diet and you're not taking in enough calories, you're just really wrecking your metabolism. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, and again, it's like going back to all the craziness of you're saying the 90s and with all the crazy diets and this hard cardio and things like that and not focusing on building muscle.
And I think the other thing I'm seeing a lot of, and I think a lot of that has to do with what we see in social media. Women are just all out not doing cardio, right? So they're doing strength training, which is great. That is what we should prioritize. Mm-hmm. And then they'll go for a long walk, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's probably not enough.
You're not getting your heart rate up.
We need to get the heart rate up. We need to breathe heavy at least once, if not twice a week, because that's what's protecting our heart. Mm-hmm. That is going to help us shed some weight. And it's the thing that I think women are dropping because it's easy. A lot of women don't like that either.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Some women love that and a lot of women don't.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started at Rise, I hated cardio and now I enjoy it.
Okay, good.
But I hate the the bike. Like,
Well,
what's the new bike?
the assault bike.
I hate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no. If someone loves it, they're just weird.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll grow to
Yeah.
love it. But I mean, I was that person that like I hated the ski erg, I hated to run, and now I enjoy it. So it definitely took me some time to get
Right.
there. The other thing I did want to talk a little bit about, because I made reference to this in last week's episode, and I know that you can speak to it so much better than I can, but I was talking about that I have found also that in terms of seeing the progress in fitness and seeing changes in your body, it's also about following a program
Yep.
that like it has to be a well formulated program with a reason behind it, which is I know that's what IO does. But instead of a lot of people where they might just go to the gym and they're like, well, I'm gonna do some biceps, and then I'm gonna do this tomorrow, and then there's no real program to track. So whereas like I feel like every week there's a program, and so I'm increasing either by reps or by weight, and so you can
Exactly.
really see
Right.
progress. Yeah.
So boring works, right? And so a lot of people rely on these group fitness classes where you show up and it's a random workout every time you go.
Yes.
Those are fun. I'm not saying don't do those.
It's
All
better
right,
than
that's
nothing.
we have
Yeah.
those classes too at Rise.
Mhm.
Those are our hit style classes. I enjoy them too, but I also know that like real results come from the slow down work, the slow progression, the building strength over time, and doing kind of the same things over and over.
Yes.
Um, and when you see some of the most lean looking bodies, it's the proof is in the body. It's there. It
Yes.
works.
It's in the
It's the
repetition. Yes, the consistency.
exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So certainly to do it the way we do it at our gym at Rise, most places don't do it that way. That's
Mhm.
part of why I was so attracted to it because personally, that's what I want when I work out.
Yes.
I want to know I'm working legs. I want to know I'm working my arms, my back, and I want to be consistent in that. I don't want to show up and it's just a random workout and I don't because it's body composition. I care about most of us actually really do care about body composition. And
Yes.
the way to create the body you want is to train those muscles in a specific way. And not
Yes.
just randomly.
And not just randomly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that that's really like for me that I've seen that has, because I was always someone that went to the gym and I worked out, but it was more at random. So there was no real, I couldn't really track my improvement
Yep.
in my body. So yeah, so I think that has worked for me so well, and also it has been so inspiring too. That also it's such a nice community of people, and I've met such wonderful women, men that again they have also prioritized their fitness, and everybody is so supportive of one another, and so it doesn't really matter what your level of fitness is, and you could be just beginning or really you've been doing this for a long time, but it's just been a very like, inclusive community, and so like I really enjoy that too.
That's great.
Yes. So I wanted to get into it also a little bit about your experiences recently,
Yep.
because I think that sharing your story, as we said, is helpful, and whatever obviously you feel comfortable sharing,
Sure.
I think will help a lot of our female listeners. But again, this is also to reach out to my male listeners as well, because you have to also, as a man, you have to advocate for yourself. And then if you are partnered in a relationship with a woman, to be supportive and understanding. So if you don't mind giving us some information about that.
As I spoke about working with so many women and learning that none of us really know our bodies. And there's so much going on inside of our bodies that we just kind of deal with and we don't even know. I have women that have cysts on their ovaries, they have fibroids, and literally I'll be training them and they'll be doing a Russian twist and they say, oh, that hurts. And I have to tell them, you don't have to do that. I'll give you a different movement. But they're so used to like doing it. I have women that literally in mid movement will be like, oh, my over, like they can feel the pains inside.
Yes.
Worked with so many women that have gone through IVF with us, with me at the gym, or they've previously had it because we know that infertility has become kind of a big issue. More and more women are, and men are facing it. So when I say know your bodies, it's like really pay attention to what's going on, what you feel, and keep track of it. I know from my own personal experience, it's been almost 2 years. I'd say February will mark the 2 year point of this journey I've gone through.
Wow.
So it all started one day I was working. I coached my 7 a.m. class. I was bopping around the gym getting ready for a client, and all of a sudden I had a pain. I had a pain in my lower abdomen area, and it just intensified to the point that I couldn't walk, I couldn't speak. It was the most painful thing. And
Yeah.
the best way to describe it
Yeah.
is if you've ever had a labor contraction, it's like that.
Wow.
But it doesn't stop. It was like 2 hours. I had no idea what it was. It turned out to be an ovarian cyst that burst.
Wow.
I didn't even know I had a cyst.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the jumping point of what's going on. I was put on a birth control.
Okay.
To avoid getting ovarian cysts, because I said I can't have that happen while I'm at work again. I don't have the ability to bear down on the pain. That birth control was an estrogen form, and it put my blood pressure at an alarming rate. I ended up back in the emergency room. My blood pressure was 225 over 110.
Frightening.
To the point that they're like rushing me in the back because they think, mind you, I drove myself to the emergency room. I felt fine, but I was tracking my blood pressure. Everything was fine.
Yes.
They brought my blood pressure down. My heart was fine. I'm a healthy human that just has high blood pressure. And so I would go to these doctors and I would say, but why do I have high blood pressure? Like, I shouldn't have it. And they had no answer other than it's genetic. You're doing everything right. There's nothing more you can do. It's just genetic. And one man, I looked at him, I said, maybe I'm stubborn, but like, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And he laughed. He laughed at me and he said, okay, well, I don't know what
that's it. There's nothing we can do. Yeah.
So I left. I never saw him again. When I say advocate for yourself, for me, I knew there had to be more. And if you're going to tell me it's just genetics, do the work first. Prove it to me. Tell me there's nothing wrong with me. Do all the tests. Then we'll say it's just genetics. So I go to other doctors. They run all these other tests upon my request because their answer was it's just genetics too. Hormone, blood work, all comes back normal. But when you look at the blood work, it doesn't actually tell you, doesn't give you any numbers for estrogen, progesterone. It gives you numbers for testosterone.
Right.
But not for estrogen or progesterone, which are the two big ones.
Yes.
But the doctor says you're normal. All my minerals and vitamins, everything's normal. I'm totally healthy. I just have high blood pressure. But at the same time, there's these things happening to me. I don't realize they're happening to me, right? Because it's either my period or it's perimenopause.
Right. These are right.
So, long story short, I go to a couple different gynecologists. I'm getting my annual pap smear. She walks in. She's like, all right, let's get you in and out. And I said, wait, please wait. I have a question. And it was directly related to my period. So this is a lot of information. If you're a man, you may not want to hear it. But ladies, you will know what I'm talking about. I had been experienced periods where for the first day of my period, I'd have blood clots. Sizable, big blood clots all day. And it was becoming disruptive.
Sure.
I couldn't get through, I couldn't be away from a bathroom. So I let her know that. And then she examines my uterus and she said, you know what? Based on what you're telling me, let's send you for an ultrasound. And it came back. I had endometriosis. Now, what I've learned since then
Yes.
is I had the symptoms, major symptoms that are signs of endometriosis.
Yes.
Pain with sex.
Yes.
Pain with bowel movements, which that was only happening during my period.
Yes, because of the inflammation.
Right.
Yes.
So I just thought it was my period. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was anything more than that. But
Yeah.
it was new. It was a new symptom that had happened in the past 2 years. And then these blood clots, this period was another one. Other things, I was bloating.
Yes. Yes.
Other things that were happening. Again, I just thought it was my period. Didn't
Yes.
think much of it. So turns out endometriosis is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Although my doctor was like, it's not that big a deal. You know, you're gonna need to have surgery, but you can wait till it gets worse. And
Yeah.
Actually, my mother-in-law was like, why would you wait till it
Yeah,
gets
why?
worse?
Like, why be in more pain?
Make it
Yeah.
like a difficult surgery,
Yes.
more difficult surgery.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. A couple of weeks ago, I went and had surgery. Also, back to the whole blood pressure connection.
Yes.
Women that have endometriosis
Yes.
have high blood pressure. They tend to have high blood pressure and tend to have a higher risk for cardiac disease or heart disease. So to me, it was like this full circle. Like I knew it. I knew there was something.
You knew it.
Going on. And it's just my body's inflamed from the endometriosis.
Yes.
Constantly. And that doesn't mean my blood pressure is going to go down. Maybe. We'll see.
Yes.
But I knew there was more going on.
Sure.
So I went in, I had my surgery. Everything went well. And the surgeon, I actually just spoke to him right before I came here. He said to me, you must have been in so much pain. It was stage 4. So it's like stage 1 through 4.
Yeah.
It was the worst. It was spread all out throughout.
Yes.
On my bladder, on my rectum, on my ovaries. But they send it out to have it tested to make sure that's what it is. And I had endometriosis. I had an ovarian cyst.
Yes.
Just a regular cyst.
Yes.
And then I also had fibroids. I didn't know that.
You didn't know.
Yeah. So I had all this stuff going on inside my body.
Yes.
I mean, the cyst was, he said it wasn't that big. It's the size of a golf ball. That feels big.
That feels big. Like it shouldn't be there. Yes.
And then
yes.
I had a endometriosis cyst on my ovary, which is like 6 centimeters, which is, I thought, big. But when I said it to my doctor, she's like, no, honey, this is big. And she literally showed me a chart where women have things this big.
Yes.
On their ovaries.
Yes.
And they're just walking around with it.
I have a friend who I spoke to this morning. Her sister has fibroids in her uterus that are the size of grapefruits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just walking
around with it.
Doing our jobs.
Yes.
Taking care of our kids.
Yes. And it's like, as women, like, I think we ignore it and we don't always put ourselves first. And we tend to have a higher threshold for pain. Yeah. And so we just think that we can power through it.
But we also just, it's either our period or it's perimenopause.
Yes.
Like everything.
Yes.
It may not be that. It could be that.
It could be that. Right.
Or maybe it's more. And the more women I talk to, the more, we have a member at the gym. She had fibroids. She had them removed. She actually helped kind of prep me for this surgery.
Oh, okay.
To like what to expect.
That's great. Yeah.
She showed me the fibroid that came out of her.
Yeah.
Huge. She's a little person.
Yes. Yeah.
Another woman I talked to, I was lucky because I have 2 kids. I didn't have any problem getting pregnant. But other women do. Endometriosis really affects women's fertility.
Fertility, yes.
So I met a woman at the gym who had it, and she actually couldn't have children. She has a child. They did it through a surrogate.
Okay.
She had a much harder story.
Yes.
Than I think I have.
Yes.
She's had multiple surgeries. She's had a hysterectomy. She's been through it.
Yes.
So I feel lucky because I caught it, and my story's not, it feels not as hard as some of the other women that I've
But
met.
you've had a tough go of it. I mean, I think there's so much there that, the not knowing, the pain, also trying to advocate for yourself, being turned
Yeah.
away, all of that. It's so much to go through. And also, if you don't mind explaining to our listeners today, because when we think of endometriosis, we think, okay, so it's the endometrial lining of the
Yeah.
uterus. So how is it that there's endometriosis on other organs?
So it's the craziest thing. It can spread all throughout your body. It
Mhm.
travels.
Yes.
So it's like pieces, it's like uterus-like,
Mm-hmm.
and it can travel. My doctor said they have found it in people's noses, in the
Wow.
brain. It's why it's
Yes.
a crazy disease. You can think of it like cancer. It's not
Yes.
malignant like cancer.
Yes.
You can live with it, but it kind of spreads the same way.
Yes.
And it grows, and it is painful.
Yes.
It can cause a lot of harm.
Yes.
Throughout the body.
Yes. Yes.
So I think my lesson was, I had multiple doctors that had they asked me more questions. I went to one gynecologist and I said, "This new thing happening, it hurts when I have sex.
Mhm.
It's never been that way before."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, just try a different position."
Oh my God.
But didn't ask me
Yeah.
any follow-up questions like,
Yeah.
"Tell me what your period's like."
Right.
Yes. And then set me along my way. And the one that actually diagnosed me, when I told her about my period, her first response was, "Well, you should be thankful it's only one day." Because a lot of women have a period like that for 8 or 9 days.
Right.
Literally what?
Yeah.
But no follow-up questions.
No follow-up question.
It wasn't until I gave them enough information.
Yes.
And I pushed enough on them.
Yes.
That something, and I didn't set out to get this.
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought she was going to tell me I'm on perimenopause.
Right.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
So again, I don't think it's enough for us to know her. We have to really pay attention to
Absolutely.
what's happening.
Yes.
What's not happening. And we have to talk to our doctors. And if you have a doctor that's not listening, you need to find a new one.
Yes.
You want ones that are asking questions.
Yes.
And you need to force the function on these doctors. Have them do the test.
Yes. No, I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story, because I think it's so important, and also just, to add to what you're saying, and I'm so happy that you had the procedure and that it's not cancerous, because for me, my mother was diagnosed with endometrial cancer.
Okay.
And eventually she passed away because it wasn't, again, I'm not a doctor, but I just remember going through it, and I don't think it was dealt with properly. And for my listeners out there, if you have already gone through menopause and you've had a hysterectomy, you can still suffer from the cancer cells that remain, and you need to get checked, because I think what happened with my mother is that, and again, you have to stay on top of these appointments, because she started to bleed and she was like, well, I don't have a uterus anymore. So like what? And it turned out that it was in other organs. And so, so again, like we talked about this in last week's episode. It's so important that you go for your mammograms, that you go see your OBGYN, that you go for your colonoscopy, that you go for your physicals and you have the blood work done. And also that, again, if you feel that you are in perimenopause, if you want to have your estrogen, your progesterone checked, that you advocate for yourself to have that done. I wanted to continue from what you were talking about, and a little bit about, like you were saying, with your lifestyle.
Yes. So, like I said, the surgeon said, you must have been in so much pain. It was really pretty bad. And I kind of was like, not really. I actually felt, going into it, weird that I was there, right? Because I feel fine. Generally, most days I feel healthy, great, vibrant. And then I'd be on my period and have normal cramping that a lot of women get. But it wasn't like debilitating in any way, the way he felt like it should be. And I have to attribute that to my lifestyle.
Okay.
Because once I was diagnosed, I started reading about it. And everything they said to do was everything I kind of already do.
Okay.
I think the biggest tweak was for me in my diet, because
Okay.
I went on an anti-inflammatory diet.
Okay.
which meant I had to get rid of dairy.
Okay, so you found that was very inflaming.
I found that I was bloating after I was eating dairy.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
was very dependent on meeting my protein goals
Through
through Greek yogurt,
yogurt.
whey protein, cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, I decided I'd just cut out dairy, and I eat it once in a
Yes.
while if I want it, I'll have
Mm-hmm.
it. Cut out dairy, limited caffeine more
Okay.
than I was,
Okay.
limited alcohol. I didn't
Yes.
drink a lot, but now I don't really drink any.
Okay.
Those were the biggest changes in red
Yes.
meat. I ate a lot of red meat. I don't eat as much red meat as I used to.
Okay.
So for me, it was I'm already doing
The things.
exercising, I'm
Yes.
sleeping, I eat really well, I
Mm-hmm.
clean that up. There wasn't a lot that I could do.
Yes.
And I think maybe that's why I didn't have all these debilitating symptoms. And not that I want to put blame on any woman and say, oh, because you don't eat well, you don't feel well because you eat like crap. That may not be the case. But I think for me, for years and years, I've done things a certain way.
Yes.
And I think that helped me not feel as terrible as I possibly could have.
Yes. Okay.
But there's like this catch 22 because also that means I didn't catch it sooner. Because generally, when the symptoms are so bad, you're asking for help.
Yes.
You're seeking
You're
out
seeking it out.
a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wasn't seeking anything out for a while in regards to my period or my menstrual cycle. It was just growing inside of me. Right. So I think my lifestyle helped me feel good.
Yes.
Through all of it.
Yes.
But then also, we
of
didn't
course.
catch it sooner, maybe because of that. But I would say, again, it's just another reason to eat really well, eat clean, fiber-rich, protein-rich foods, exercise, prioritize sleep,
yes,
limit alcohol. It's just all more reason, especially as women,
as we get older,
make a huge impact on our lives and how we get through it.
Yes. No, I think that's so helpful. And like you were saying, just, already being in good health might have limited some of the more pronounced, I guess, pain, but the fact that you were already doing the things, it was less. I do want to emphasize about advocating for yourself and knowing yourself. I mean, I had a very, very different experience. We talked about this a little bit, having nothing to do with women's health, but it was really very, very upsetting for me. And I was dealing with it for 10 years, is I developed tinnitus or tinnitus, people say it differently, in my left ear. And it started when I was pregnant with my younger son. And in the beginning, it was somewhat disruptive. And I went to see an ENT and they told me, oh, we don't see anything, but it might just be because you're pregnant. And so it's affecting your blood pressure. And so you're hearing like this noise in your ear. And I gave birth, and not only did it not go away, but it got a lot worse. And it went on like this for 10 years. And during that time, I went to see every expert at the best hospitals at NYU, at Columbia, at New York Presbyterian. They sent me to see a neurologist for a brain scan to make sure I didn't have a brain tumor. And over the years, there was no explanation. And the experts just said to me, I don't know what to tell you. You have tinnitus. And I'm like, I know I do. That's why I'm here. And they're like, we can't help you. We can't give you an explanation. There's nothing that we can do. They said maybe it started from like, were you exposed to a lot of loud noise? No. Did you have a virus? No. And I just knew that there was something. And it was for 10 years that I kept on looking into it, that eventually I went to see Peter Scordelis, who, if anybody needs a great chiropractor, he's in Bloomfield. He told me, he's like, you have TMJ. And I went, and not only, that was so upsetting to me because I had gone to all the best dentists, everything, and no one could tell me. And it was really hard for me because sometimes the sound was like there, but not so bad. But then sometimes it was horrible that I just wanted to like hide under the covers because it was very disruptive. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you know that something seems off and the doctors are trying to tell you like something that doesn't seem right,
Yep.
keep at it, keep exploring. It did take me 10 years, but you know what? I now figured it out. They literally all it took was giving me a bite plate. And I go for physical therapy where they do work on my jaw, but the noise went away.
Yep.
So I think it's so important that you have to know your body and, if something feels off, to further explore what it is. And again, I think that it is important to track your symptoms also. Again, whether it's like something that has to do with whether it's female focus, female centric, if it's menstruation and you're getting your period faster than normal, sooner than normal, or later, and whatever, and you want to keep track of those things, and even keeping track of like when pain
Oh, for
ensues
sure.
and understanding
And I
why.
would say if you're a woman in your 20s and 30s, start tracking it now.
Yes,
Track every little thing, and as time goes on, you'll be able to recognize those changes in your body.
absolutely.
Um,
Yes,
do it sooner than later.
yes, you want to understand your cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it could all just be your cycle. It could just be
Yes,
your period.
yes,
But you need to know, and you need to ask the questions.
yes. I think that's so important to definitely track. And again, also things like what you were saying, which I think is important about maybe some food sensitivities that create inflammation and understanding that as well. If you need to keep a food diary, that's also really helpful. And I think that in conclusion today, I want to say thank you for coming to talk with me and sharing your
Absolutely.
story.
Thank you.
And for my listeners today, please feel free again to message me, and I will include Sarah's Instagram as well if you want to reach out to her directly. And again, it's just so important we have to advocate for ourselves. We have to be our own cheerleaders, our own biggest supporters. And I do encourage you that if you have any questions or concerns about anything with your health, it is so imperative that you have it checked out. Seek out the right professional. If you see one doctor and they give you an opinion, it's totally fine to get a second, third, fourth opinion until you feel satisfied that you have done your due diligence. So thank you, and until next time.